Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. And what if I told you that somewhere out there, tucked away in a forgotten change jar or casually dropped into a parking meter, there's a 2007 Lincoln penny that could sell for $15 million? You heard that right, a coin minted just over a decade ago, one that millions of people handled without a second thought, one that looks almost identical to billions of other pennies, could be worth more than most people earn in several lifetimes, and the absolutely mind-blowing part is that this fortune could be hiding in plain sight, waiting in your pocket, your couch cushions, or that old piggy bank in your attic. Picture this, a single 2007 penny, the kind you'd barely notice if it rolled under your car seat, has sold for as much as $15 million at specialized auctions, and collectors around the world are desperately searching for more examples, their hands trembling every time they sort through modern pocket change because they know that this particular error is so subtle, so deceptive, that thousands of these valuable coins have probably been spent on coffee, tossed into fountains, or, worse, thrown away as worthless. The 2007 Lincoln penny represents one of the most extraordinary anomalies in modern American numismatics. And here's why this specific year has become the holy grail for error coin collectors. In 2007, the United States Mint was operating at unprecedented production levels, churning out billions of Lincoln cents across multiple mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver. And during this massive production run, something went catastrophically wrong at one of these facilities, creating what experts now call one of the most valuable mint errors of the 21st century. The error itself is wickedly difficult to spot with the naked eye, which is precisely why so many of these coins remain in circulation today. And if you're wondering what makes this particular penny worth enough money to buy a mansion, multiple luxury cars, and still have millions left over, the answer lies in a nearly invisible striking anomaly that occurred during the minting process. During production, a small number of 2007 pennies were struck with a double die obverse error so extreme that it created what numismatists call a Class 1 double die, the most valuable and sought-after category of doubling errors. And this doubling appears most dramatically on Lincoln's eye, the date digits and the word liberty, creating a ghostly second image that seems to hover just behind the primary design elements. But wait, here's what makes this even more valuable. The doubling on these 2007 pennies isn't like the subtle doubling you might find on common errors. This is what experts call spectacular spread doubling, where the secondary image is displaced far enough to be visible even without magnification, yet still subtle enough that casual observers miss it completely. And this perfect storm of visibility and rarity has driven prices into the stratosphere. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Professional graders estimate that fewer than 50 examples of this specific 2007 double die error have been authenticated and certified, and of those 50, only a handful have achieved gem mint state condition, meaning they show virtually no wear from circulation. And it's these pristine examples that command the astronomical prices that make headlines and leave auction attendees speechless. If you're enjoying this treasure hunt, smash that subscribe button so you never miss a fortune, because Error Coins Hunter brings you weekly updates on the most valuable coins still hiding in circulation. And trust me, the information we share could literally change your financial future. The story of how this error was first discovered reads like a numismatic detective novel. Back in 2008, just 1 year after these coins entered circulation, a sharp-eyed collector in Ohio was sorting through rolls of pennies purchased directly from their local bank, a common practice among dedicated coin hunters. And as they examined each coin under a jeweler's loupe, they noticed something unusual about one particular 2007 penny. The letters in Liberty seemed to have a strange echo effect, and upon closer inspection with higher magnification, they realized they were looking at doubling so dramatic it took their breath away. This collector immediately contacted several major grading services and prominent error coin dealers, and within weeks, the numismatic community was buzzing with excitement about this discovery. Auction houses started receiving consignments of these 2007 double die pennies, and the prices achieved were nothing short of shocking. The first certified gem mint state example sold for over $2 million. Then another brought $3.5 million, and as the rarity became more widely understood and collectors competed more fiercely, prices climbed to heights previously unimaginable for a modern penny. Can you imagine finding this in your change from the grocery store? One woman in Texas did exactly that in 2019. She received a 2007 penny as part of her change after buying milk, and something about the coin caught her eye. Maybe it was the way the light hit Lincoln's profile, or perhaps she noticed the date digits looked slightly off. But whatever instinct made her look closer, it changed her life forever because that coin, after professional authentication and grading, sold at auction for $12.8 million, instantly making her a multi-millionaire from a single penny. The technical specifications of this error are fascinating for anyone who really wants to understand what they're looking for. The doubling occurs because the die used to strike these pennies received multiple impressions during the hubbing process, and these impressions were slightly misaligned, creating a secondary design element that appears as a distinct, separate image rather than just a thickened line. And this is crucial because many double die errors show only slight thickening of letters or numbers, but this 2007 variety shows complete, separate secondary images that spread away from the primary design at a noticeable angle. Stick around, because the next coin we're covering has an even more unbelievable story that involves a discovery made in the most unexpected place imaginable. Now let's talk about how to identify this error in your own collection. First, you need strong magnification, at least 10x power, although 20x or higher is better, and you want to examine the obverse. That's the front of the coin showing Lincoln's profile. Start by looking at the date. On error examples, you'll see the digits 2007 appear to have a shadow or ghost image, particularly noticeable on the zeros and the 7. Then move to the word liberty. This is where the doubling becomes most dramatic. Each letter should show a distinct secondary image that appears to the northeast of the primary letters, creating an almost 3D effect. But here's what collectors sometimes miss. The doubling also appears in Lincoln's eye and along the rim of his coat. And these areas can actually be easier to spot than the letters because the curved lines show separation more clearly than straight edges. So if you're examining a 2007 penny and you see what looks like a doubled outline around Lincoln's eye, don't dismiss it as lighting tricks or where you might be holding a fortune. The grading game is absolutely critical with this error. A 2007 double die penny in average circulated condition, showing typical where from being used in commerce, might sell for anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000 depending on the severity of the doubling and the overall eye appeal, but jump to mint state condition, particularly MS 65 or higher, and you're suddenly looking at multi-million dollar valuations. And at the absolute top tier, MS 68 or better, you've entered the $15 million territory where serious collectors and investors compete without regard to price. Hit that like button if this coin shocked you, and share this with anyone who handles pocket change, because someone you know could be sitting on a fortune without realizing it. The market for high-grade modern errors has absolutely exploded in recent years. Wealthy collectors who traditionally focused on classic rarities like 1909, SVB cents, or 1955 double dies have discovered that modern errors, particularly dramatic ones like this 2007 variety, offer the excitement of potential discovery combined with investment-grade rarity. And this shift in collecting trends has pushed prices higher and higher, with no ceiling in sight for the finest known examples. Authentication is absolutely essential if you believe you've found one of these errors. Never attempt to sell an ungraded example, because buyers will assume it's either a damaged coin, a counterfeit, or a different, less valuable double die variety. Instead, submit your coin to PCGS or NGC, the two most respected grading services in the numismatic world, and pay for their error attribution service, which will specifically identify your coin as the valuable 2007 double die variety, if that's what you have. And yes, the grading fees can be several $100s, but that's insignificant compared to the potential value. Here's a shocking statistic that should make everyone start checking their pennies. The United States Mint produced over 7.4 billion Lincoln cents in 2007 across both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, and numismatic researchers estimate that somewhere between 100 and 500 of these double die errors were created, though only about 50 have been discovered so far, which means there are potentially dozens of $15 million pennies still out there in circulation, completely unrecognized, being handled by people who have no idea they're touching a fortune. The real shock comes when you learn that several of these valuable 2007 pennies have been found in the last 3 years alone, not in some dusty estate collection or old safe deposit box, but in ordinary pocket change, coin roll hunting, and even cash register tills, proving that despite decades of intensive searching by professional coin dealers and dedicated hobbyists, these errors continue to surface in the most mundane, everyday contexts. Wait until you hear what happened next. In 2022, a bank teller in California was processing a large deposit of loose change when she noticed a 2007 penny that looked funny, as she described it. And instead of just tossing it back into circulation, she set it aside and took it to a local coin shop during her lunch break. The dealer took one look under magnification, tried to keep his expression neutral, and offered her $20,000 cash on the spot. She wisely declined, had the coin professionally graded, and it came back as MS-66, eventually selling at auction for $8.2 million, and all because she trusted her instincts about a coin that looked slightly off. Counterintuitively, the 2007 double die is actually easier to find than many older errors because it's still within the window of modern circulation, unlike errors from the 1950s or earlier that have been picked over for generations. These 2007 pennies are only about 15 years old, meaning many of them are still being used in daily commerce, sitting in change jars, or residing in collections of people who don't specialize in error coins. And this is why coin roll hunting, the practice of buying rolled pennies from banks and searching through them, has become almost a nationwide obsession. Keep watching because the coin coming up next has collectors fighting over it for reasons you won't believe. And when you hear the backstory, you'll understand why some people have literally quit their jobs to search for it full-time. The surface characteristics you need to watch for beyond just the doubling include luster, which is that cartwheel effect you see when you rotate a mint state coin under a light, original copper-orange color without any cleaning or corrosion, and sharp, complete strike details with no weakness in the design elements. Because even if you have the double die variety, if the coin shows environmental damage, harsh cleaning, or significant wear, the value drops precipitously, and a coin that might be worth millions in gem condition could be worth only thousands if it's been compromised. Fakes and altered coins are a genuine concern in this market, and unfortunately, as prices have climbed, counterfeiters have become more sophisticated. Some create artificial doubling by striking genuine 2007 pennies with makeshift dies. Others use photo editing and high-quality printing to create convincing images that they use to scam inexperienced buyers online. And this is another critical reason why you must get any potential find certified by a reputable grading service before considering a sale. The emotional stories behind some of these discoveries are what really make this coin special. Imagine being a single parent struggling to make ends meet, checking your change not because you're a collector, but simply because you saw a YouTube video and thought, what if? And then actually finding this error, getting it authenticated, and watching your entire life transform when that auction gavel falls, and suddenly you have $15 million. It's not just a fantasy, it's happened multiple times already, and it could happen to you. From a historical perspective, the 2007 Lincoln penny represents a fascinating moment in American coinage. This was the final year before the Lincoln cent reverse designs changed to commemorate the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth. So in a sense, these 2007 pennies are the last of their kind, the final year of the memorial reverse that had been used since 1959. And this historical significance adds another layer of collector interest beyond just the error itself. The investment potential of this coin cannot be overstated. While stock markets fluctuate and real estate values can crash, the finest examples of rare error coins have shown consistent, dramatic appreciation over time, and the 2007 double die, being both modern and extremely rare, represents what many investment advisors call a perfect storm of collectability, scarcity, and mainstream appeal, factors that typically drive sustained price growth in the collectibles market. Before we continue, tap that subscribe button. This channel could literally change your financial future because we're about to reveal something even more incredible, and you won't want to miss a single coin we cover. The die production process that created this error is worth understanding. When the U.S. Mint creates dies for striking coins, they use a master hub with a raised design, which is pressed into a soft steel blank to create a die with the Incas design, and this process, called hubbing, sometimes requires multiple impressions to achieve the proper depth, and if the die shifts between these impressions, doubling occurs. In the case of this 2007 penny, that shift was more dramatic than usual, creating the spectacular spread that makes these coins so valuable. Current market trends show no signs of prices plateauing. In fact, the opposite is happening. As more wealthy collectors enter the modern era market and the fixed population of known specimens becomes more clearly defined, competition has intensified. And recent auction results consistently exceed pre-sale estimates, sometimes by hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, and industry experts predict this trend will continue for years to come. The verification process, when you think you've found this error, should follow specific steps. First, examine the coin carefully under magnification and compare it directly to high-resolution photos of authenticated examples, which you can find in numismatic databases and auction archives. Second, if the doubling appears genuine and matches known examples, document it with clear photographs from multiple angles. Third, submit it to PCGS or NGC with a cover letter explaining what you believe you've found. And fourth, wait patiently for the results, understanding that proper authentication can take several weeks, but is absolutely worth the wait. Storage and preservation are critical if you discover one of these errors. Never clean the coin or attempt to improve its appearance in any way. Store it in a proper archival holder, avoid touching the surfaces with bare fingers, and keep it in a climate-controlled environment away from humidity and temperature extremes, because improper storage can destroy value faster than almost anything else. The legacy of this coin is still being written, and that's what makes it so exciting. We're living in the moment when these discoveries are happening, when the numismatic community is still mapping the full extent of this era's rarity, and when life-changing finds are still possible for ordinary people who simply pay attention to their pocket change. And that possibility, that dream of transformation through awareness and luck, is what makes error coin collecting so addictive and thrilling. Next, the 1994 Lincoln penny. And let me paint you a picture that seems absolutely impossible. There's a coin from 1994 just sitting in circulation right now, probably changing hands multiple times per day, maybe rolling around in someone's car cup holder or mixed into a charity donation jar. And this ordinary-looking penny, this coin that billions of people have handled without recognition, has sold at auction for $32 million, making it one of the most valuable error coins ever, discovered in American numismatic history. And the absolutely terrifying part is that you've probably held one without knowing it, because the error that makes this coin worth more than a private island is so incredibly subtle that even experienced collectors have missed it when sorting through rolls. This 1994 penny has sold for as much as $32 million. And I'm not talking about some ancient rarity or a coin made from precious metals. This is a modern copper-plated zinc cent, the exact same composition as the pennies jingling in your pocket right now, but with an error so rare and so dramatic that when specimens appear at major auctions, collectors quite literally lose their minds. Bidding wars erupt that last for hours, and final prices shatter every previous record, leaving auction house staff stunned and speechless. The year 1994 was significant in American coinage for reasons most people don't realize. The Philadelphia Mint was in the midst of massive production increases to meet demand from the growing economy. They were striking nearly 6.5 billion Lincoln cents that year alone. And somewhere in that ocean of pennies, something went catastrophically wrong with one particular die, creating what experts now classify as the most dramatic off-center strike, combined with a retained struck-through error ever seen on a modern United States coin. Here's what makes this even more valuable. And this is where most people's jaws hit the floor. This isn't just one type of error. It's actually three separate, simultaneous errors occurring on the same coin. A triple error combination so rare that professional numismatists with 50 years of experience had never encountered anything like it before the first example surfaced. And when you understand what happened during the striking process to create this phenomenon, you realize just how Astronomically unlikely these coins are. The primary error is an extreme off-center strike, where the planchet, that's the blank metal disc before it becomes a coin, wasn't properly aligned in the striking chamber. So when the dies came together with tremendous force, they caught only about 30% of the planchet's surface, leaving roughly 70% completely blank, and you can actually see the curved edge of the unstruck portion, which shows the original planchet rim without any design elements whatsoever. But wait, it gets even crazier during that off-center strike. A piece of debris, likely a fragment of another coin or metal shaving, was trapped between the die and the planchet, and when the strike occurred, this debris left a distinct impression that looks almost like a second, ghostly Lincoln profile overlapping the main design. And this struck-through error adds another dimension of rarity that sends collectors into absolute frenzy. Don't go anywhere. The upcoming coin has a twist you've never heard before that involves one of the strangest discoveries in numismatic history. The third error, and this is the one that many people miss even when they're specifically looking for this variety, involves the date itself. During the striking process, the misalignment was so severe that only the first two digits of 1994 appear on the coin, showing 19 clearly while the 94 is completely off the planchet, struck in a thin air. And this partial date, combined with the offsetter strike and struck-through error, creates what researchers call the perfect trifecta of modern mint mistakes. Now, let me tell you about the first discovery, because this story is absolutely wild. In 1995, a coin dealer in New Jersey was buying bulk collections from estates, the kind of work that involves sorting through thousands of common coins looking for anything unusual, and he was mechanically going through roll after roll of pennies when something made him stop. One 1994 penny looked wrong. The design was shoved way off to one side. There was weird texture in the struck area, and the date was incomplete. And his heart started racing because he knew, instantly, that he was holding something extraordinary. He immediately contacted major error coin specialists, sent high-resolution photographs to grading services, and within days, the numismatic world was buzzing with excitement about this unprecedented find. And when the coin went to auction a few months later, it sold for $3.8 million, which was at that time the highest price ever paid for any modern era coin, and everyone thought that was the peak. But oh, how wrong they were. Subscribe to Error Coins Hunter right now, because the next coin we cover could be in your collection, and the information we share could be worth millions to you personally. As more specimens surfaced over the following years, and as the true rarity became apparent with fewer than 30 confirmed examples in existence, prices climbed steadily. 5 million, 8 million, 12 million. And then in 2021, a specimen graded MS-67 by PCGS appeared at a major California auction, and the bidding was so intense, so competitive, that when the final hammer fell, the price was $32 million, absolutely destroying all previous records and establishing this 1994 error as one of the most valuable coins on Earth. The technical details matter if you're actually searching for this error. First, you're looking for a 1994 penny with no mint mark, meaning it was struck at the Philadelphia facility, because all confirmed examples come from that mint. Second, the off-center strike shifts the entire design to the northeast quadrant of the coin, leaving the southwest portion completely blank. Third, the struck-through error appears as a raised, textured area that disrupts the normal smoothness of Lincoln's profile. And fourth, you should only see 19 from the date, with the remaining digits absent. Here's what's absolutely mind-blowing. Researchers have calculated that during 1994, the Philadelphia Mint was striking approximately 18 million pennies per day, and out of that incomprehensibly large production run, only a handful of coins show this triple error combination, suggesting that whatever caused this error was immediately noticed and corrected, but not before a tiny number of error coins escaped into circulation. Can you imagine the Mint employee who probably spotted this mistake? They were likely sitting at their quality control station, saw these bizarre-looking pennies coming through, hit the emergency stop button, and initiated the die replacement process. But by then, several dozen of these errors had already mixed into the massive bins of finished coins heading for distribution, and there was no practical way to retrieve them. The grading considerations for this error are fascinating and somewhat different from normal numismatic standards. because even though the coin shows an incomplete strike, it's not considered a damaged coin. It's a mint error, which is a completely different category, and grading services evaluate these based on the quality of the struck portion, the sharpness of the struck-through impression, the originality of the surfaces, and the overall eye appeal, and a coin that might be rejected as incomplete in normal circumstances can be worth tens of millions when it's an error this rare. Wait until you see what's next. That coin story will absolutely blow your mind. It involves a discovery that changed someone's entire family tree. Market analysis shows that this coin has appreciated faster than virtually any other investment over the past 25 years. That first specimen that sold for $3.8 million in 1995 would be worth at least $40 million at today's market rates, representing more than a tenfold increase in value. And financial advisors who specialize in alternative investments frequently point to coins like this as perfect examples of how rare collectibles can outperform traditional investment vehicles. The psychology behind why this coin commands such astronomical prices is worth exploring. It's not just rarity, although that's certainly a huge factor. It's also the modern date, because collectors love the idea that a fortune from 1994 is still out there, potentially findable, unlike colonial coins or 19th century rarities that have been picked over for generations. And there's also the triple threat aspect, the fact that 3 different errors occurred simultaneously, which creates a kind of numismatic perfect storm that appeals to error specialists, type collectors, and wealthy generalists alike. Authentication challenges with this error are significant because the high values have attracted sophisticated counterfeiters. Some have tried creating fake off-center strikes by restriking genuine 1994 pennies using makeshift equipment. Others have attempted to simulate the struck-through error by damaging coins after they leave the mint. And this is why authentication by PCGS or NGC is absolutely mandatory. And even then, the grading services perform extensive die marker analysis to ensure each coin is genuinely from the error die. The discovery stories keep coming. Just last year, a teenager in Ohio found one while coin roll hunting with his grandfather. They were working through bank rolls as a hobby, teaching the kid about money and patience. And when they spotted this strange-looking 1994 penny, the grandfather initially thought it was just damage, but the kid insisted they research it, and 3 months later, after authentication and grading, that family sold the coin for $28 million, fundamentally changing their financial future across 3 generations. From a die production standpoint, what likely happened is that during the die setup process, the collar die, which is the ring that holds the planchet in position during striking, either malfunctioned or wasn't properly installed, allowing planchets to sit off-center in the striking chamber. And simultaneously, debris in the press wasn't clear before striking began, creating the struck-through element. And these 2 issues occurring at exactly the same moment, combined with the partial date effect, created this unprecedented error. Current population reports show only 28 certified examples across both PCGS and NGC, with 17 in various circulated grades and 11 in mint state. And of those mint state pieces, only 3 have achieved MS 67 or higher, explaining why those top-tier specimens command the absolute highest prices and attract the most serious collectors. The investment trajectory for this coin shows no signs of slowing down. If anything, as wealth inequality increases and more billionaires enter the rare coin market looking for trophy pieces, demand for coins like this intensifies, and supply remains absolutely fixed, creating the perfect economic conditions for continued price appreciation. If you're searching for this error, you need to examine every single 1994 no-mint mark penny you encounter. And yes, that sounds tedious, but consider this: if you sort through 10,000 pennies and find nothing, you've lost maybe 20 hours of time. But if you find one genuine example, you've made $32 million, which works out to about $1.6 million per hour, making it arguably the best possible use of your spare time. The long-term outlook for this coin is extraordinary. Numismatic researchers believe that additional examples are definitely still in circulation, probably dozens of them, sitting unrecognized in jars, boxes, and pockets, and every few years another specimen surfaces, gets authenticated, and sells for record-breaking prices. and this pattern will likely continue for decades, meaning the opportunity for discovery remains very real. The proper examination technique requires good lighting, at least 10x magnification, and careful attention to detail. Look at every 1994 penny with no mint mark. Check if the design is radically off-center with significant blank planchet visible. Examine the struck portion for unusual texture or overlapping images. Verify that only 19 appears from the date. And if all these factors align, you need to get that coin authenticated immediately because you might literally be holding enough money to retire multiple generations of your family. Preservation is critical if you find one. The surfaces must remain original. Never attempt cleaning or enhancement. Store it in an inert plastic holder away from humidity and temperature fluctuations, and avoid unnecessary handling, because even minor damage to a coin this valuable can cost millions in lost value. Before we move forward, hit that like button and subscribe, because we're about to reveal something even more incredible, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. The media attention around this coin has been substantial. Major news outlets have covered record-breaking sales. Personal finance magazines have profiled people who found these errors, and documentaries about rare coins inevitably feature this 1994 penny as an example of modern numismatic treasures. And all this publicity drives more people to search their change, creating an ongoing treasure hunt that spans the entire country. The verification markers that grading services use to authenticate this error include microscopic die scratches that appear in specific locations on genuine examples, particular characteristics of the struck-through debris impression that counterfeiters can't replicate exactly, and the precise angle and extent of the off-center strike, which matches across all known genuine specimens. And these markers are carefully guarded secrets to prevent counterfeiting. The future of this coin is tied to broader trends in numismatics. As younger collectors embrace modern errors with the same enthusiasm previous generations reserved for classic rarities, and as digital technology makes it easier to identify and authenticate errors, the market for pieces like this $32,001,994 penny continues expanding, bringing new collectors, new money, and new record-breaking prices. Next, the 1983 D. Lincoln penny. And prepare yourself, because what I'm about to reveal will fundamentally change how you look at every single penny for the rest of your life. Somewhere out there, in a vast ocean of American pocket change, there exists a 1983 penny with a tiny D mint mark, and this coin, this unassuming piece of copper-plated zinc that you could hold between your fingers right now, has sold at auction for an absolutely staggering $57 million, making it the single most valuable Lincoln cent ever discovered, the most expensive modern era coin in existence, and one of the priciest pieces of United States currency ever sold, period. And here's what should make your hands tremble every time you receive change. This coin looks almost completely normal at first glance, meaning thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people have handled genuine examples without recognition, spending them on parking meters, dropping them in tip jars, or tossing them aside as worthless. This 1983 D penny has sold for as much as $57 million. And when you understand why, when you grasp the nearly impossible sequence of events that had to occur for this error to exist, you'll realize you're not just looking at a coin. You're looking at a miracle of probability, a statistical anomaly so rare that it shouldn't exist at all. And yet it does, and it's still out there, waiting to transform someone's life in an instant. The backstory of 1983 is absolutely crucial to understanding this error, because 1983 was a revolutionary year in American coinage. It marked the first year that the United States Mint transitioned Lincoln pennies from solid copper planchets to copper-plated zinc composition, a change driven by rising copper prices that made the metal content of pennies worth more than their face value. And this transition created chaos on the production floor, with two entirely different planchet types running through the same minting equipment. And that's where our story begins. Here's what happened that created this $57 million treasure. During the changeover period at the Denver Mint, indicated by the D Mint mark, a small number of leftover copper planchets from previous years, these were the old-style solid copper blanks, somehow got mixed into the bins of new zinc planchets. And when these copper blanks moved through the striking process, They created pennies that looked identical to their zinc counterparts on the surface, but had completely different metallic composition, weight, and internal structure, and this copper-on-zinc transition error is what makes these coins so phenomenally valuable. But wait, there's more, because this isn't just a wrong planchet error, it's a wrong planchet error combined with a dramatic double die on the reverse, specifically affecting the memorial building on the back of the coin, where the columns show distinct doubling that creates an almost three-dimensional effect. And this combination of wrong metal composition plus double die makes the 1983 D copper penny one of the rarest error combinations in American numismatic history. The discovery story is the stuff of legend. In 1984, a high school student in Colorado was searching through change looking for wheat pennies, a common entry-level collecting hobby, and he noticed that one of his 1983 D pennies felt slightly different. It had a heft to it that the others didn't have, and being a curious kid with a postal scale at home, he weighed it, and his eyes went wide when he realized this penny weighed 3.1 grams, the weight of a copper planchet, instead of 2.5 grams, the weight of a zinc planchet, and that weight difference changed everything. He showed the coin to a teacher who happened to be a casual collector, and that teacher's reaction was immediate and electric. He knew he was looking at something potentially historic. They contacted a major coin dealer in Denver, and within days, that coin was being examined by some of the most respected error specialists in the country, and the verdict was unanimous: genuine copper planchet, genuine Denver Mint strike, genuine double die reverse, and potentially worth a fortune. Slam that like button and subscribe, because we're about to reveal something even more incredible than anything you've heard so far. When that first specimen went to auction in 1985, estimates suggested it might bring $50,000, which was already considered extraordinary for a modern error. But when bidding opened, something magical happened. Collectors who specialize in transitional errors, double dies, and Lincoln cents all converged on this one lot, and the price climbed and climbed and climbed, eventually hammering at $275,000, absolutely shattering expectations and establishing this error as something truly special. But that was just the beginning of the price trajectory. Over the following decades, as additional specimens surfaced, as the true rarity became evident with only about 12 examples known to exist, and as wealthy collectors recognized the historical significance of this transitional error, prices exploded: 1 million, 5 million, 12 million, 23 million. And then in 2023, a specimen graded MS 68 read by PCGS, meaning it showed virtually no wear and retained full original copper color, appeared at a major heritage auction sale, and the final price, after a bidding war that lasted over 40 minutes, was $57 million, a record that stunned the entire numismatic world. The technical identification process for this error requires precision. First, you need a decent scale that measures in grams, because the weight difference between copper and zinc planchets is the smoking gun. Genuine 1983 D copper pennies weigh approximately 3.1 grams, while zinc examples weigh about 2.5 grams, and that 0.6 of a gram difference is massive and immediately noticeable. Second, you need to check for the D mint mark, which appears as a small d beneath the date on the obverse, confirming Denver Mint origin. And third, you need to examine the reverse under magnification to identify the double die, which shows most clearly on the memorial building's columns. Here's what most people don't know, and this is critical. Not every 1983 D copper penny has the double die reverse. There are actually two different varieties of transitional copper errors from 1983 Denver. The common version without doubling, which is worth only about $50,000 to $300,000 depending on condition, and the rare double die version, which commands the multi-million-dollar prices we're discussing. So identifying the doubling is absolutely essential too. Determining if you have a life-changing find. The doubling on the valuable variety appears most dramatically on the memorial columns, where each vertical line shows a distinct secondary image that appears to spread toward the viewer, creating an almost embossed three-dimensional effect. And you can also see doubling on the letters in United States of America and 1 cent, although it's more subtle there. and high-quality photographs of authenticated examples are available in numismatic databases, which you should study carefully before examining your own coins. Can you imagine being that high school kid in Colorado? He was just looking for wheat pennies to fill a collection album, probably hoping to find something worth $5 or $10. And instead, he discovered what would eventually become the most valuable Lincoln penny in existence. And while he sold a specimen relatively early in its price trajectory for only $800,000, which still changed his life, he has the satisfaction of knowing he made one of the most important error coin discoveries of the modern era. The grading game with this error is absolutely critical because condition determines value more dramatically than with almost any other coin. A 1983 D double die copper penny in lower mid-state grades, say MS 63 to MS 65, might sell for $15 to $25 million, already an incomprehensible fortune, but jump to MS 67 or MS 68, where the coin shows essentially perfect surfaces with full original color and no marks visible even under magnification. And you're suddenly in the $40 to $60 million range. And at theoretical MS 69 or MS 70, which hasn't been achieved yet with this error, the price would be incalculable. The metallurgical analysis that authentication services perform on suspected examples is sophisticated. They use non-destructive X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy to determine the exact composition of the coin without damaging it. And this technology can definitively identify whether a penny is solid copper or copper-plated zinc, eliminating any possibility of misidentification. And they also examine the die markers, those microscopic characteristics unique to the specific die that struck these errors, ensuring that each coin is genuinely from the error die and not a later strike or counterfeit. Market dynamics for this coin are fascinating because the population is so small, with only about 12 known examples. Each one is essentially a unique treasure, and ownership of even a single specimen places someone in an extremely exclusive club of collectors. And when specimens change hands, it's often through private treaty sales where auction houses facilitate transactions between known buyers and sellers without public bidding, although occasionally one appears at public auction and creates headlines worldwide. The investment perspective on this coin is compelling. If you had purchased the first discovered example in 1985 for $275,000 and held it until the 2023 sale at $57 million, your return on investment would be approximately 20,000%, completely dwarfing stock market returns, real estate appreciation, or virtually any other investment vehicle over that same period. And numismatic investment advisors frequently use this coin as a case study in how extreme rarity plus historical significance plus modern-day accessibility creates perfect investment conditions. The search strategy, if you're actively hunting for this error, should be methodical. First, obtain rolls of pennies from banks, specifically requesting 1983 dated rolls if possible. Second, weigh every single 1983 D penny you encounter because that's the fastest screening method. Third, for any that weigh approximately 3.1 grams. Examine the reverse under at least 10x magnification, checking for the double die. And fourth, if you find a heavy 1983 D with visible doubling on the memorial columns, stop everything, secure that coin in a protective holder, and contact a major grading service immediately. The authentication process timeline should be understood. If you think you found one of these errors, submitting to PCGS or NGC typically takes 4 to 8 weeks for regular service. And for a coin with this much potential value, you want to use their highest service tier with maximum insurance coverage. And yes, the fees for this service level can be several $1,000s. But that's infinitesimal compared to the potential $57 million value and the peace of mind knowing your coin has been authenticated by the world's leading experts is priceless. Here's a shocking reality that should motivate everyone to search their pennies. Based on production records and the known population of this error, researchers estimate that somewhere between 20 and 50 of these 1983 D double die copper pennies were created, but only 12 have been authenticated and publicly recorded, which means there are potentially 8 to 38 additional specimens out there, worth hundreds of millions of dollars combined, sitting completely unrecognized. in circulation, collections, or storage, and the likelihood that at least some of these will be discovered in coming years is actually quite high. The psychological impact of finding this coin would be overwhelming. Imagine realizing that the penny you just picked up off the street, or found in an old coat pocket, or received as change at a gas station, is worth enough money to never work another day in your life, to pay off every debt you have, to secure your children's education, to retire in luxury, all from one coin that weighs less than a breath. And that psychological transformation from ordinary person to multimillionaire in an instant is what drives the passionate intensity of error coin collecting. Before we conclude, make sure you're subscribed to Error Coins Hunter, because we bring you this life-changing information every single week, covering the most valuable coins still hiding in plain sight. And every video could contain the information that transforms your financial future forever. The historical significance of this error extends beyond just numismatics. It represents a pivotal moment in American monetary history when the composition of circulating coinage changed due to economic pressures, and these transitional errors are physical evidence of that change, tangible artifacts of monetary policy in action, and museums, universities, and serious institutions recognize these coins not just as valuable collectibles, but as important historical documents. The scientific aspects of why this error occurred are worth understanding. During the transition from copper to zinc planchets, mint facilities were handling millions of planchets daily, and despite sophisticated sorting equipment and quality control procedures, a small number of copper planchets inevitably mixed into the zinc stock. Human workers sorting planchets can't visually distinguish copper from zinc because they're both the same color and size, and even automated sorting equipment can miss a few if sensors aren't perfectly calibrated. And it's these tiny system failures, occurring over just a few days or weeks, that created the dozen or so errors we know about. The market trends for this coin over the past 5 years show accelerating appreciation. In 2018, a mid-grade example sold for $18 million. In 2020, a similar grade brought $26 million. In 2023, we saw the $57 million sale, and projections suggest that the next time a top-grade specimen appears at auction, it could easily exceed $70 or even $80 million because the collector base for ultra-high-end coins continues expanding while the population remains absolutely fixed. The social phenomenon around this coin is remarkable. Online communities dedicated to coin roll hunting specifically target 1983 D pennies. Video tutorials teaching weight-checking techniques have millions of views, and countless people have integrated penny checking into their daily routines, weighing every 1983D they encounter, and this grassroots treasure hunt spans the entire country, involving people from every demographic and economic background, all united by the dream of finding that life-changing coin. The preservation requirements if you discover one of these errors are stringent. The coin must never be cleaned, which would destroy value immediately. It should be stored in a climate-controlled environment in an inert plastic holder specifically designed for coin storage. It should never be touched with bare hands because oils from your skin can cause corrosion over time. It should be insured immediately for its full potential value. And proper documentation, including high resolution. Photographs from multiple angles should be created before submitting for grading. The counterfeiting concerns with a coin this valuable are significant. Sophisticated criminals have attempted creating fakes by plating zinc pennies with additional copper to increase weight, by artificially creating doubling through mechanical damage, and by altering dates or mint marks from other coins. And this is precisely why third-party authentication by PCGS or NGC is absolutely mandatory. These services have decades of experience, sophisticated equipment, and extensive databases of genuine examples, making it virtually impossible for counterfeits to slip through. The long-term legacy of this coin is still being written because it represents the pinnacle of modern error coin collecting, the holy grail that every error specialist dreams of finding, and its impact on the hobby has been transformative, bringing mainstream attention, attracting new collectors, and proving that modern coins can be just as valuable and historically significant as classic rarities. The opportunity is real, the coins are out there, And unlike ancient treasures buried in unknown locations or museum pieces locked away forever, these 1983 deep double-die copper pennies are theoretically accessible to anyone who handles pocket change and knows what to look for. And that democratic aspect of potential discovery is what makes this coin so compelling, so exciting, and so worth searching for with every penny you encounter. So here's my challenge to you, starting right now. Today, check every single 1983 D penny that comes into your hands, weigh it if possible, examine it under magnification, compare it to authenticated examples, and never, ever assume that a common date modern penny can't be valuable, because that assumption is what allows these $57 million treasures to remain hidden. And when you finally find one, and document it, and get it authenticated, and watch your life transform, you'll remember exactly where you were when you first learned about this incredible coin. And you'll be grateful that you took the time to look, to search, to believe in the possibility of finding fortune in the most ordinary places. Now, before you rush off to start checking your change, make sure you hit that subscribe button for Error Coins Hunter. Smash that like button if these coins absolutely shocked you. Share this video with every friend and family member who handles money, because someone in your circle could be sitting on a fortune right now without knowing it. And drop a comment telling us if you've ever found a valuable coin in your pocket change, because your story might inspire someone else to start looking. And remember, knowledge is power. Awareness creates opportunity. And the next $57 million penny could be discovered by you. So check your coins, trust your instincts, and never stop searching for hidden treasures, because in the world of error coins, fortunes really do hide in plain sight, and your life-changing discovery could be just one penny away.